All right, let's talk about counter space. My piece of advice to you is to guard your counter space like it's the key to your sanity, because sometimes it is, especially if you have a smaller kitchen. That's something you're gonna wanna keep nice and empty and clean. Now, when we got our first apartment together, we had what's called a galley kitchen, which is basically you have one row of counters here, one row of counters here, and that's it. And usually there's an oven inside of that, a microwave, on top of it, a refrigerator. So you only end up with like 3 tiny little squares of counter space to work with. So when you're cooking, you got your cutting board out, you got a bowl out, and then you've got dirty dishes, and then it all just becomes much harder to work with. So with us, we actually ended up getting some extra storage, which we'll talk about in a later section. But even if you don't have extra storage, let's talk about how to keep those counters nice and clean and what you might want to put on them. So if you have a bigger counter space like they do here, you can put all kinds of decoration on it, especially if they're deep counters, and it looks nice. It brings up the mood of the room, adds a little bit of style. It's a good choice. Me personally, I like a little less decoration. I like a simpler, cleaner look with maybe 1 or 2 decorations, but again, it's up to you. That's your kitchen. The other things you may want to keep on your counter are things that you're going to use, if not every day, most every day. One of those would be a microwave. Here they've got a built-in, so they don't have to have it on the counter. But if you don't have a built-in, you're gonna have to have that on your counter. The good news about a microwave is that you can actually stack things on it and next to it. It does not get hot on the outside. A toaster oven, however, does get hot on the top and on the outside, so don't put anything on or next to your toaster oven. At my parents' house, they actually had the sliced bread too close to the toaster oven and that plastic melted up on the side, which was a real pain to get off. Another thing that you may want to have is a knife block. You're going to be using knives in most of the things you're cooking, so you want to have that nice and close to where you're going to be cutting things up. You can also get a knife magnet, something like that. Another big one is a coffee maker. A lot of people drink coffee every day or every other day or something like that, and so it's good to have out on the counter. They even have some flavorful syrups and other things that go with coffee and tea, and plus it looks nice. The last thing you may want to have out on your counter is a utensil cup. And you can get nice, colorful, decorative ones online or at your local store, or you can just go low budget like we did when we were in college with a good old beer pitcher. However, whatever you use to store your utensils in, don't put it too close to your stove. That's what's called the splatter zone. And you're not going to want to use those utensils because they get splattered with all that tomato sauce. You're not going to use them without cleaning them first. So if you're not going to keep them in your drawer, you can keep them out in a cup or pitcher, whatever it may be. Just keep it out of the splatter zone. So there's a couple of tips to help you organize your counters. Let's get into the cabinets and drawers.